Yo, yo, yo. All right, we are back
On your line?
with another Cowherd's Corner. Very happy to have everybody who's going to be pulling up shortly. We got the
Yo,
homie
yo, yo. All right, we are back
Engonga
with
pulling up.
another
Here she
Cowherd's Corner.
is.
Very happy to have everybody who's going to be pulling up shortly. We got the homie Engonga pulling up. Here she is.
Pulling up from the city of champions.
Literally, well, we've been that for a while, but yeah.
I'm really gonna have real sound effects for season 4, man. 'Cause it's really been
Yeah, we
some
gotta
deep
get you a little
season.
board.
You know, yeah, yeah, I really got
Yeah,
tapped,
we
and
got tapped.
I really have some dope announcements on here that deserve me not doing it with my fake vocals. Um, what's going on, G? Still got a
Still
little
got a little
sunlight. You
sunlight.
know,
You
here on the
know,
East
here on the
Coast,
East
it's
Coast,
pitch
it's pitch
black
black
outside.
outside.
Yeah, the sun will be going down in about 45 minutes here, so
Word, word,
sucks, but
word. Okay,
Okay,
okay.
okay.
Let's go ahead and
Let's
get
go
it
ahead and
started.
get
I'm sure
started. I'm
folks
sure
will
folks.
start pulling up, and or they're gonna catch the
oh
playback.
wait.
Oh, I'm gonna put mine on Do Not Disturb too.
Okay, cool.
See what happens when you popping? You gotta set your whole life up so you can't be disturbed for like a 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, no, I'm good. My kid's not here. I got on like an AirPods, AC going. Amaya's waving, one of my favorite people on earth.
All right,
Oh,
well,
I think
listen,
this is my first
I'm
live
not gonna
too,
steal your
honestly.
thunder. You go ahead. Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I've joined watched other people's, but I've never done my own. Or I'm still technically not doing my own, but yes, this is my first time using that functionality.
This your show. This your show. I'm just kidding. I appreciate the plot of land you've given me to plow on, and
40
let the
acres.
world know
Gotcha.
about you. So now go ahead. I don't. I want you to introduce yourself up and down. And then I'll take it away after your intro.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Greer Engonga. I'm a LA native. For some time, I was a VC at Backstage Capital, which is an investment fund that focuses on investing in companies at the earliest stages that are led by diverse founders. So that's Black people, people of color, members of the LGBTQ community, and pretty much any other kind of like minority and marginalized group that you can think of. And then now I am hosting a podcast called The Level Set, where my co-host and I, her name is Tope Ajalo, our hope is to kind of make it like a mentoring platform for Black women who are in the corporate sphere and creative space as well, who just have always like lacked mentorship and want to have and listen to like really candid conversations about issues that Black women are faced with when we're trying to progress professionally.
Haha, that's really dope. Not to do that thing that men get accused of all the time, but I literally just did a podcast episode. A black woman, she does something. Kendra, I want to say her last name is Johnson. Don't kill me. Her first name is Kendra though. She does something called Safe Space Saturdays, and the focus is
Yeah, the pod you sent me.
exactly.
Yeah.
So my episode was about the trials and tribulations of being black, essentially working in corporate America. So that's really dope that you're taking that platform, obviously being specific towards black women and really kind of having that candid conversations. Because I know for sure it's something I missed out on transitioning from an HBCU into the corporate worldwide America. So talking about school, because I want to talk about why representation matters.
Totally.
Let's talk about what you're 18, 19 years old, post high school. Who are you? What's going on in your life, and would you go to school, and what happened after school?
Yeah. So I went to a school here in Los Angeles in the San Fernando Valley called Cal State Northridge, which is a part of our like state school system. We have the UCs, which plenty of people are familiar with, and UCLA and Berkeley, and then the Cal State, which is probably like, I don't know, a system of 30 campuses across the state. But they educate like large swaths of our population. I think they have something like 30,000 undergrads on their campus. And I was a journalism major in college, pretty much from day one. Coming out of high school, I like wrote for the newspaper. I was a sports editor of a newspaper. I was the manager for like the boys basketball team. So I always had an interest in sports journalism, let's say in particular. And Cal State Northridge was like a pretty good school for that here in Southern California. I wanted to venture away like in college or whatever, but I was 17 when I graduated high school, 17 when I started college. Like my parents just weren't going for it, even though I think I'm pretty responsible, like, and have always been as like the oldest child, but it just wasn't happening. It wasn't.
You got siblings? I didn't even know that.
Yes, I have a younger brother and a younger sister. And so yeah, I went to Northridge and I majored in journalism with a more of a focus on broadcast journalism. And that's what I thought I wanted to do, like well, I will say like probably by my third year of college, I realized I probably didn't want to pursue that as much, because if you know about like television and journalism, like you oftentimes have to go to like a smaller market first and like kind of work your way up into bigger markets. And I already lived in one of the largest markets in the world, in Los Angeles. I grew up watching and listening to some absolute legends in sports, and like Vin Scully and Chick Hearn. And I was just like, I've been listening to you guys my freaking whole life. I don't want to go live in the armpit of America and like, I don't want to do that, you know? So, you know, throughout college, I worked at law firms in like family law. And so I just continued to do that out of college for a while. And then obviously I knew that like, I didn't want to go to law school, and like it's good money, you know what I mean? But I was like, I'm not passionate about this at all. I'm just kind of, you know, wasting time being here. And but I eventually like moved to a different law firm that did something interesting, in my personal opinion, and that was support startups and emerging growth companies. And so that's the first time I ever like learned that terminology. And some of our clients were VCs as well, which is venture capitalists. And I was just like, okay, this seems like a really, really interesting job. Like I don't know a ton, but you're telling me that you take other people's money and invest in companies? Like that's the gist of your job. And I'm like,
that's the job description?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, this sounds really cool. Let me like just figure out what I can about this industry. And I was already an avid Twitter user. And then I realized like, oh, Twitter is a VC backed company. Like, I bet there's a shit ton of VCs on Twitter. And there were. And so that's how I kind of got connected with Backstage Capital, because their managing partner, Arlen Hamilton, was and is still one of the most outspoken tweeters in the venture capital space. And she just like affirmed what I was seeing at my previous job. Yeah. And I was able to develop like a relationship with a couple of people on the team. And when they were expanding their team, I was one of the people that was chosen to join them. And it was the ride of a lifetime. I learned a ton, met some really, really interesting people like you. And then there's relationships that I've built over the last 3 years that I'm going to have forever. And it was an invaluable experience. And yeah, that's like my little short synopsis.
For sure. So you were at Backstage Capital for 3 years. How long were you there for?
Yeah, like 2.5 years. 2.5 years.
Let me ask you this. So if it wasn't for Arlen Hamilton, would you have been a venture capitalist, do you think?
I was trying. But one thing I do know about venture is it's a very insular community, and Arlen is an outsider. 1,000%. Not only is she a Black woman, she's gay. She doesn't have a college education. Venture capitalists currently, half of them either went to Stanford or Harvard. So I would have continued to try. I don't know how I would have fared in my tries, but I definitely would have continued to try. And I also don't know like when I would have been turned on to like angel investing, for instance, had I not worked with them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that's essentially. I think for me,
You don't know what
right?
you
I'm
can't.
like,
You don't know what you can be if you can't see it, right? That's like the
right.
same kind of thing.
That's essentially, yeah, right. It's kind of like, it could have been easy for you to kind of go into this world and then see a world that looks like corporate America. Like, damn, like I know technically venture capital isn't going a 9 to 5, but if the same people I'm talking to look like the people at my 9 to 5, what am I really escaping?
Right.
And I think the Arlen, the Jules Salam, or formerly Jewel Burks, the Troy Carter's, right? The I could go on and on, but long story short, like those people are important. One of my mans. Oh yeah, exactly. My man said, or either my homie said, or I just saw it was like, yo, some people were born, their first president was black.
Yeah.
Like
What
that's a
an
big
amazing.
deal.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a big deal, right? And then like if you're a daughter, your first lady was a black woman, right? Now a few years, several years later, you got or somebody might be being born right now, hopefully about to see a black woman vice president, right? So there's this obviously this correlation to if I can see it, I can be it. If I see it, I can achieve it. I can at least know it's a possibility. And I think that was so important. I'm happy that you took that leap, that you took that opportunity to say, like, let me go out here and see what's going on. So let's tap in a little bit more. What was your role at Backstage, and what were some of the sweet things that you were able to really take from that, and that are helping you kind of still navigate the world now?
So I did two things at Backstage. The first was I was an analyst, so I was just on the deal flow team, meeting founders, letting them pitch me, giving them feedback and advice on their pitches and their companies and different strategies that they were employing to try to grow their companies. And then I also, so like halfway into my time there, we started our own accelerator. And it was like a pre-seed accelerator where we were giving founders 100K to own a portion of their company, where we would also supply them with like education and mentorship and other like perks and connections to continue, again, helping them grow their businesses. And so I was a program director and an analyst. And what was the second part of your question again?
What were just some of like the things that you took from there, right? That for sure will help you, carry on to whatever's next.
So one of the things is like just trying to be helpful whenever you can, because sometimes you can't always like provide capital to a company. Sometimes it's your social capital, sometimes it's your expertise. So that's something I took away, and like I think I was helpful to people in my life to some degree beforehand, but I think I'm much more helpful now. Like it's a lot easier for me now to like diagnose situations and say like, I think this is the route you should take, even though, again, you have to be open and willing to let people like do their own thing, because ultimately this is their company, and they're responsible. So that's one of the things that I think, frankly, the most important thing. And then secondly, I think it was already something I was honing with like the journalism background, but again, like knowing the right questions to ask, right? Like, I think that's something I'm going to be working on for the rest of my life, honestly. But yeah, knowing the right question to ask, and because I know like what I'm like trying to get out of something, someone, or a situation.
For sure. So I think your job isn't easy, right? Being a venture capitalist isn't easy from a lot of different perspectives. One, not only
a filter, I will also say, like a filter for shit too. Filter for bullshit, filter for good things, bad things, and everything in between too. Like definitely sharpening that filter for sure.
Being to that point, that good point that being a venture capitalist is not easy. It's not just I guess for those who don't know, I'll give a quick breakdown of how venture capitalist works, and Greer can definitely correct me if I'm wrong. As a venture capitalist, you are essentially trying to raise a fund from what are called LPs or limited partners. these limited partners, it could be 8, 3, 4, whatever. Like you're trying to raise 2.5 million. However many people you need to raise that 2.5 million are your limited partners. They enter the fund, and long story short, they are expected a return from whatever they invest, right? So if Greer and her team of 4 give me, I will be the general partner or the fund manager, but I'll be the fund manager. If they give me X amount, huh?
Yeah. Yes, you would be the fund manager.
If they give me X amount of money as
you
my
also call them
LP,
managing partners or general partners.
Like,
yeah, MPs, yeah.
My job is to be able to pay myself, which I believe like probably like a 2% fee of whatever that total number is. I believe like I would pay my salary like 2% of that 10 million, right? Leaving me with, I'm really bad at math. Whatever is left over from 2% of 10 million is, that money is what I would need. That's operating costs. That's going to be the money that we invest in founders. That's the money I might need to travel to maybe speak to different founders or send founders to me. Legal, exactly. So again, venture capital is going out to a bunch of people saying, hey, I'm this smart, or I have this thesis, right? I have this thesis that those in underrepresented communities have the ability to tenfold your money based on XYZ scenarios. And it could take 2 years, it could take 5 years, it could take 10 years. But that's what you're doing as a venture capital. You are a venture capitalist. You are convincing other investors that their money is better in your hands based on this thesis. And that shit hard, right? Like it ain't that many black people that got that kind of like savviness, that kind of hustle grit, right? Like if you don't know Arlen, she was homeless OD. Like she was homeless while raising her bread. So like you really got to understand that you're going to face a lot of rejection.
I'm going to push back on that there's not a lot of black people that can do. I actually think there should be more black fund managers, a shit ton more actually, myself included. Even if that's like on a much smaller basis. Let's say I just, I was only managing $2 million in capital, but if I'm allocating that all to pre-seed companies and companies that are only looking for $10,000 to $25,000 checks, $2 million is going to get me far, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I do want to push back. I think that Anamaya should be one also, 1000%. I completely believe in her abilities to scout and vet companies. But yeah, I think there are a ton of black people that can do this, even people that today do not have much exposure to venture capital. I think that it's an industry that is full of gatekeepers, and gatekeeping is robbing our society of innovation, straight up.
Yeah. Word. So not to necessarily push back again, but I think that there is
black people are gritty, like, and that's
that's not what I'm denying, right? But it's kind of like everybody don't need a hoodie brand, everybody don't need a sweat, you can, right? But there are still some intangibles that you got to be born with or you're not born with, and I don't want industries to be like, I don't want to sound anti, because I'm very pro-black. I think that there does need to be a sample size of us that go in and understand the game and give the game back. I don't think it needs to be a free-for-all where it's just like, oh yeah, we haven't let black people do this for a long time, let's just allow them to enter the game. It's like, nah, like this is a game that we could really hold the fort down. So let's get the right ones in, and hopefully the right ones that get in trickle the game down. So those $10,000 checks, those $25,000 checks, I know it's the percentages are going to be, but like they might have better marks. They might hit a little better because it's like, yo, we had 10 to 12 Greers that stepped into the game, trickled that information down to 200 of us.
I think I can definitely say that what I think the venture industry needs by and large is just more diversity, and that's diversity with like your like ethnicity, race, and like socioeconomic status, a lived experience, like just the gamut, all things.
What in your life experience helped you be I'll say a better venture capital, good venture capitalist, right? What in your life is it like? You know, you had a job and you were in school, so you know how to look at different deals. Like what? Yeah. Word. Yeah. Talk about it. Talk about your
throughout college. I've always supported myself. I've always had to have a job, so I know like that juggling act, right? Like that's just something that I've always done. I'm also a mom. I'm a young-ish mom too, so like one of the sectors.
Oh, now you young. Look, she on camera now. She want to say she young. That's not how she be coming in the text, y'all. That's not how she coming in the text. She swears she old. Here we go. Here we go.
But one of the categories I love looking at is like products and companies that are catering to parents and young parents at that. So like oftentimes I've talked to so many women who pitch companies to men, let's say, and they go, well, the men are always asking me like, would my wife use this? Would my daughter use this? Let me ask them, instead of just saying like, women are half the people on the planet. Why wouldn't they use this or something? You know what I mean? So just like some things that I think are common sense, but apparently are not. So yeah, the fact that I'm a mom, a youngish mom of color, youngish mom that is Black, like a Black mother face things that other parents and other mothers do not. I'm the oldest kid. I don't know what that's worth just yet. I haven't been able to like verbalize that, but it matters for something. Other unique things about me. I mean, I think I'm, fairly well traveled, especially as a Black American.
Yeah, I've been to 11 countries, and I promise you, a lot of motherfuckers ain't leave their own state, let alone maybe their own hood. You know what I mean? So that matters, right? That matters for sure.
Yeah, I speak a little bit of Spanish, like well enough to get by in a Spanish-speaking country. I'm sure I'm blanking on things, but again, like just let's say those 5 things, most of Silicon Valley, most of venture capitalists do not possess those qualities. So there's blind spots are there,
I want to jump back to something you said. You said you're a mom, so you look at mom products. I think that's very important, right? So I want to also jump back to this whole like more Black people being venture capitalists. So one thing that people will tell you is like, if you ever want to start investing in stock, invest in what you know, right? So listen, if you do a lot of shopping at Nordstrom, JCPenney, and Macy's, you need to be looking at companies that deal with retail, right? So JCPenney about to foreclose, you need to be looking at, well, who owns JCPenney? Who owns what group owns that chain or owns that real estate, that business, right? So what I'm saying to that is, if you have venture capitalists and you like gaming, you like education, you like legal tech, right? Like how can attorneys better send forms and documents to their clients? Those are the areas that you should focus on, because it's like, yo, I already do this in my spare time. I have either more knowledge than the average person because this is what I do randomly. I have more connections in this space. So if I'm not knowledgeable, at least your money, I know that I can tap one person or 2 people away to get the information that I need. So let's really talk about like the importance of research. And again, right, knowing, let's just talk about the importance of research. Let's talk about that. Like, were you already a researcher? Obviously you said law, journalism, right? So it sounds like reading is something, even if you don't like reading, you got to. Yeah. Okay.
So another thing I will say, just in that same vein too, is I'm extremely resourceful. Okay. And I think that is like a trait that's going to carry me in any career that I choose. And so, I research, resourceful, like I kind of put them in the same bucket, right? Like even knowing how to look for something, knowing which questions to ask, right? Because you've synthesized some information and now you can get past like some of the boilerplate, really just mundane kind of information and ask like some hard hitting questions, right?
Let's give the people real quick 2 mundane surface level founder questions. Probably like one would be like, what's the market size of your idea? And then that's my example. Then like, can you give 2 more like you ask these questions and you really found either like, oh shit, they surprised me, or oh shit, it ain't really.
Okay, like I love obviously having conversations with you about the company that you're building right now, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
I always try to challenge you to like break things down to a more granular level. Like we're talking about helping people who are disenfranchised economically, right?
Right.
Okay, we know that. We know that there are, let's say, X million people who are underbanked in this country, but
22 million, 16%.
Let's talk about like how they currently access the financial world right now, right? Like it's not enough to say that they are underbanked. Like what are they doing when they get paid on Friday with their money?
So a lot of Americans are hitting payday loans. Payday loan interest might exceed 390%.
I'm putting my computer on the charger, so you see that.
No problem. What else can I say about that? Most people that pay the payday loan industry is a $9 billion industry. Well, no, it's not a $9 billion industry. People pay $9 billion worth of fees when they do payday loans. The average person pays $520 to borrow $375. Don't get me started.
Right, exactly, right? So I can meet 1,000 fintech companies, but if you're not breaking it down for me like that, then I know that you haven't done the research. I know that you haven't talked to people, the customers that you're thinking about serving. I know that you haven't talked to them if you can't come to me with that kind of information. I was on Clubhouse last week and I was listening to some women pitch their companies, and there was a woman who's based in the DMV, and she has a personal care business for women who are menstruating, and she's a Black woman, and she was saying that like 70% of Black women don't even use tampons. So companies like any of the new companies that claim to be like chemical free, dye free, etc., like it doesn't matter if I don't even wear tampons in the first place. It doesn't matter, but she knows that because she's talked to the specific group that she is trying to serve.
Let me ask you something. This is something that it's kind of my hot take, and it probably really won't. Yeah, it probably won't get far with many people, but I don't believe in data. I don't think as much as the next person, right? Like I believe in data to kind of tell me a story of what's possible. But like, if a founder came to me, because I have angel investing dreams, right? I don't think I want to necessarily go VC. I kind of want to just have my own bread with a couple homies and we just give checks, or like a syndicate, if you will. But if a founder came to me without a business plan, without being analytical, right? But had a fleshed out idea, had a vision on how to execute it, and even just a dream or a vision of what it looks like over time, right? Like for me, that's like, and maybe it's because I'm that guy, right? So I'm kind of thinking like who I would invest in, somebody that kind of had a story or a tribulation like myself, right? But I also think about all the time you look at an Excel sheet or you look at numbers and a company still doesn't succeed, right? So in my head, it's like, well, it could be the same thing. Like, I just think that basically what I'm saying is I think the barrier of entry, honestly, for underrepresented, Black, brown, everything in between is too high. Like, I don't believe that we should be held to the same standard from a business perspective that our white counterparts, our Indian counterparts are held to, our Asian counterparts are held to, right? Like, one, in the Black community, education isn't necessarily, aside from like the African, but like African American, like education don't really hit like that. You know what I mean? Like you get a couple valedictorian stories here and there, right? But if they're Black, they're going to be African, or again, you might get a couple that are African American. So for me, I've just always really struggled with this. Like there are a ton of founders who aren't getting funded or aren't getting recognized because they just can't piece it together traditionally. And I don't think that's fair. So
yeah.
That's my
I don't know if that's that hot, to be honest with you. I think it's a very good point to make because you're still talking about like a large segment of our population, let's say the Black population in the U.S. And yeah, we're just not starting off on equal footing. We're just not. And if you want to take that to like K through 12 education, we could talk well before we even get to like who's starting businesses and who's not.
Yeah, of
like
course.
K through 12, compulsory education is not equal in this country. So of course, when we get to adulthood, outcomes are dissimilar.
So why we not having the conversations right now around what a win looks like for a Black founder cannot look like for a white founder or an Asian founder, right? First of all, if a Black founder, where is this tab at? Sorry. If a Black founder receives funding, yo, you were successful, son. I actually here's this how I'm coming. As a Black person, if you invest in a Black person, you need to honestly have it ready that like, yo, this Black man or woman might not succeed, or they might not succeed. And you need to be ready to double up on them potentially if they just were unlucky. Maybe the timing was off. Maybe they made a mistake that like founders just make, right? I just think there's this lack of second, third chances that we get, and it's fucked up.
I agree.
Right? First of all, we don't get the first chance, but like when we do get the first chance, there's this, you gotta perform OD well. You got like, no, I don't. Like, I hate that. Like, not saying like, let us be mediocre too, but let us not be perfect out the gate.
Yeah. So I don't think any good investor, to be honest with you, and I don't care who they are, no good investor should be striving for perfection. That's not necessarily what this is about, right? It's about unlocking innovation, and innovation that we hope will be profitable.
Yeah.
Because even your white counterparts, they're not held to the perfection. That's not the standard that they're being held to.
Right. Well, yeah, of course.
So, but Black people, we know, right? You got to be twice as good to get half as far or half as much. Like that's the old adage that we have in our community. So it's hard for me to say, no, but yes, but it's hard for me to say because I know now by virtue of what I've done professionally, I know a shit ton of Black founders, and they are like a host of them, like overwhelmingly are exceptional, excellent people, and professionals. Like, yes, they've achieved great things in like whatever they were doing prior to starting companies. Because you kind of have to be to even get on somebody's radar, right? Like Black people by and large are not allocating capital in this country. We're making up, let's say, what do you call them? Like CalPERS, which is like if you work for the state of California, like that's your pension and retirement fund.
Okay.
So like, yes, we make up like those in, let's say, each state, in particular, southern states, I know, right? Like if you're employed by the state, that money is going into a fund, and then those people are choosing who gets to spend that or who gets to allocate that money. So Black people need more of a say in like where the money that their retirement and things like that. We need more of a say in terms of like where that's going, first of all. Because that money needs to be steered to more Black and brown fund managers. And yeah, like I said, like we're not allocating the capital, so it's hard to make the standards by which people have to play.
Fair. And I think, one of the things that, you always hear, there's a pipeline problem. There's a pipeline problem. First of all, you're lying. Racism is a problem. Prejudice is a problem. Blind spots are a problem. Your lack of wanting to humble yourself and be uncomfortable in a space that you're not familiar with is the problem. And there is this, what was it, like Black, brown, BIPOC, whatever things they're trying to include everybody in. Like 1% of VC capital was like, I guess it was like 2.8 billion given last year. We got like maybe 12.2 or whatever. It was a huge discrepancy. I forget the numbers. And I hate that I'm not. I hate that I'm not saying them exactly right now, but it's just something, man. And I had something I was going to say leaning into that. I'm losing my train of thought. But anyway, so If it wasn't venture capital, what would it be? And by the way, education doesn't matter. Fear does not matter. It's just like, yo, man, like this is just
what would I want to do? I mean, probably something around women's sports. Okay. I mean, I'm a huge sports fan. But in terms of like where I see the growth, right, and potential for growth, I definitely see it more on the women's side. Men who are professionally athletes are already very well established in our society across geographies, So I think my thing would be around women's professional sports. In like what capacity, I'm not sure yet. Like I obviously probably something in like the business and how we like reach the community, but also something with like players and how they choose to allocate their funds or how they want to grow. Like they're entrepreneurs too now,
I want to say, what about like some KD be investing? What about like helping WNBA players become angel investors? Like, would you like you would pick 10 at WNBA and now they're your LPs and you invest on
that's exactly it. I've had that thought like last year. I have some friends who or some people I know, let's say, maybe one who's a friend, but friendly nonetheless, who are in the Sparks front office. And in LA Sparks, they're the professional WNBA team here in LA. And I remember meeting with them like sometime last year, and I was thinking like, ultimately that's what I would love to do. Like women in the WNBA are making more money than they ever have. It's still like peanuts, obviously, compared to what the men make. But this year, I think, some players had the chance to make around $500,000 if they like could follow through on like all of the contractual obligations. And so like that's a lot of money in addition to the money that they make playing overseas. So I know that there's some WNBA players who are sitting on nice funds right now. And I remember hearing Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird, who are like, two of the most famous WNBA players, talking about over the summertime before their bubble started, talking about like owning a team in their league, in a league that they've put their blood, sweat, and tears into. And we get to see owners on the men's side. I think that's it. But again, like that's not a forever thing either. Investing is probably something I always want to do, but like you said, like in an official capacity, like this is my job. I'd be down to do it and give it a shot. And if it goes well and I love it, great. But I'm also like totally open to doing something else 10 years from now. And I just want to be courtside. I want access to good
I just want to be court. It could all be so simple.
And
did you ball in high school?
I did not. So like I played golf in high school actually.
Oh yeah.
Way before I was even thinking about like what the game of golf can do for me in life, I just liked it. It was interesting, right? It's like you're really only competing against yourself. I'm playing with 3 other girls in our group, but it's really like I'm just trying to beat the score that I had yesterday or the score that I had last week. And I'm becoming more familiar with the courses that I'm playing. So golf was just like a personal challenge for me. Basketball, I still love, and I still play like for fun. I'll play with some women here professionally, like that I am like colleagues here with in LA, and we've played a few times. Obviously, COVID has like killed that for me, but I still love to play and like just get shots up and obviously watch a ton. But
Jasmine Watkins on Twitter. Jasmine Watkins.
Yes, she's got one of the best accounts in the land.
That's the homie. Like, yo, when I tell you, she really makes sports Twitter so much better for me. I'm like, I really appreciate how she handled her
and like that's the thing. Like, I don't know who she's employed by, but I can remember tweets of her saying like, I've applied for so many jobs and been turned down so many times, and it's just like,
and then to see, she actually quit. The same company literally took her whole plan. Like, it was crazy. But she got actually, I hit her up because I wanted to kind of see, what was going on. But she got like a lot of like side John. I don't think she really got like a main.
I know, and that could be her preference
type shit. Yeah. Word.
Too, but she is that good that she deserves.
Oh, no, she could lead a whole org when it comes to that. Like I'm serious. I don't know her personnel management skills, but she'll figure it out. I'm sure I'm sure she'll be fine.
I think she has enough experience on the other side of it to be able to do that job well.
Exactly. My phone is slipping. It's on my bed and my sheets are doing what they do. So what to those that will watch later on, to those that are watching now, like what's just some things that you were just like, yo, like black man, black woman, black person, like you can do it. Like what are some words that affirmation that you told yourself to kind of get through? What are some hard lessons that you might have kind of had to just learn and just be like, damn, it is what it is?
Yeah, no, I think like black people on the whole, I think we need to be better about like articulating the value that we bring to things. And like one of the things you said earlier, and I forgot to push back then, but like about the data piece, right? Like that sometimes you don't always need data, but I think data is two things, right? We know that it's qualitative and quantitative. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's a lot of value placed on the quantitative data, right? That's like things that we can count. Like there are two people right now.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, 100%. There are two people on this live. That's quantitative data, 100%. However, Mike and I now, we have known each other for like 2 years, right? Like that's not, we have a rapport now that is like qualitative data that you can't even measure it, right? Like we're in sync. But being able to like verbalize that and write that down for other people is a very important piece to like getting anything done.
And I'm sure that's, go ahead. Sorry.
No, and it's something I need to be better about. We've had many conversations about this.
Didn't I just say it in the voice note? Didn't I just say it? I was like, yo, like I just didn't feel like writing it out. Like I just needed you to, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a practice. And I would say like one of the biggest things, and I think I've struggled with this too, is like, don't be too hard on yourself, right? Like I definitely believe that you are here to do great things. I believe the same thing about myself. But like tomorrow I could wake up and just have a shitty day, and it's no one's fault. It's just, I don't know. I woke up and it was foggy outside, and I'm just gonna have a shitty day. Like it's okay to like let shit roll off your back and don't let it like get you down, right? And keep pushing. I mean, even though I don't necessarily feel like I need to tell black people that, because like that's just what we do anyway. But I think it's sometimes just good to hear, and sometimes shit for myself too. So yeah, like let's get better about articulating and verbalizing the value that we bring, because I guarantee you, like companies will tell you that they do have data. They got it. You know what I mean? And like it's not incentivized for us to know the value that we bring. Because I truly believe that if we peel the curtains back, if we weren't contributing, this whole shit would be moot. You know what I mean? Like I really do believe in our collective like importance, value, and I just know we make shit move and shake, period. Whether that's Clubhouse, IG Live, verse, like whatever it is, and like especially on the cultural aspects of things. Black people are America's largest export, period. Black culture is the largest export in America.
You go to Japan, you go to Korea, you go to the Philippines, let me tell you something. You're a black man. I don't know about black women, but I know as a black man, you step into a foreign country, you're a rapper, you're an NBA player. You could lie and tell them it don't matter. Like they want to be around you. They think you are so special, so different. Whether they heard long ago propaganda of how bad or whatever we are, or if they see us in videos and the fancy cars, etc. Like there's so many versions of black people in the world, and it's so crazy to tap into like how people think about us once you're actually outside of America. It's nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah. we're like put on this earth for some reason. And I don't, I know that we haven't like fully tapped into that reason just yet. But yeah, like I see like great things on the horizon for like Black youth, Black youngest people. And obviously it's like we're using our ancestors as like and all that they have accomplished as a stepping stone to like accomplish even greater things. Yeah, and that's.
What are you reading right now? What music are you listening to?
Reading right now. I got a couple books in my queue.
Or listening on Audible.
Yeah, no, one of them is The Spook That Sat by the Door, and then
very important book.
Yeah, I want to read this book by Paul Beatty too. It's not on my desk anymore, but those are the two next books in my queue. I just started watching The Queen's Gambit on Netflix. I'm like on the third episode, or about to be on the third episode. Pretty good so far. And then listening to.
Check out Grand Army too, if you haven't already.
Oh, my sister loved that. I'll check it out. Like coming of age kind of story. Yeah, I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then listening to. I got to be honest.
You can pull up.
No, I've been really. No, I mean I know what I'm listening to. I listen to a lot of Jay. Like that's Jay-Z. That's who I listen to the most. Yeah. And obviously he hasn't put up an album since 444 or whatever. Maybe even Everything Is Love came out after that. His album with Beyonce. But like, I listen to a lot of Jay. I've been trying to get into like Benny the Butcher and the Griselda guys, but.
Did you like Benny and Conway's recent album?
Benny just put out an album. I've heard that, or some of it, let's say. And I don't know. I think something is happening with me in rap. Like I'm just not feeling it as much as I once did.
So it has nothing to do with West Coast, East Coast, just different. I mean, I know you said Jay-Z, but Jay-Z Universal. That's not really fair. Like whole Universal, but like Dave East, right? Like Dave East not gonna hit with everybody, right? Like Dipset not gonna hit with everybody. You feel me?
No, so like I'm not even though I'm from LA, like I love the music that comes out of LA 100%. But I also I love the music that comes out of everything, like every geographic location in the US. I don't like rap in foreign languages. I can 100% tell you that. 100% tell you that I do not.
Hey, like that rap. Korean rap be jumping. I don't know what they saying, but they be going. I'm like,
so cool. So cool. I like even when like in BET back in the day we used to try to like make UK hip hop. I don't know. If it has like a non-Black American accent, I'm good.
I heard you.
So yeah, like I've tried to listen to the Griselda guys a couple of times. It's just I don't know, not doing it for me right now. I love Drake. Like I'm hyped for Certified Lover Boy whenever it comes out. Obviously Kendrick, I think is one of the most talented like people I've ever heard rap. And then like R&B, I just got like Sade's box set in vinyl. Like I bought that stuff for myself for my birthday. I love that.
You're showing your age.
A little bit. But then like I bought Ari Lennox, Shea Butter Baby on vinyl too last week. Yeah. I really like her. I like her music, let's say. So yeah, I'm like pretty. I'm not that like. I just like what I like.
You got a lane. You got your lane.
My taste has certainly become less eclectic over the years. 1,000%.
Copy. So I don't remember what time we started, but I know Instagram is real strict about this hour. So I want to jump into two more things with you. I want to talk about. I want to go a little bit deeper into your new podcast.
Okay. How
are you shooting the episodes? When are you shooting the episodes? And will you have guests? So just talk a little bit more about that. How it came about?
Yeah. So my co-host and I met like last year at.
And what's the name of it again?
It's called The Level Set, and so I met my co-host last year sometime at an event that we were both at for a new for it was an event for social media startups, right? And like what's going to happen around social, like in this next coming wave. So I think it was like social 2.0 or social networking 2.0 or something like that. And we just met briefly. She's from the UK. She's a Black Nigerian from the UK, and her name is Tope Ajala. She works in like the advertising space as her day job, and then she also like moonlights as a logistics and like ops coordinator in the entertainment space too. And so we met late last year, and we just like chatted about like where we were going professionally and what are some of the things like we just were having issues with. And she's a little bit younger than I am, and she's probably lived in the States for like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. She was living in the Bay at the time. And then she moved down to LA, and I don't know, we would just hang out and we just hit it off, and we just found that we like think similarly. And again, like we're running into the same kind of problems professionally in very different industries. And then COVID hit, and I think we said we wanted to do a podcast like pretty early on, but then COVID hit, and we were like, okay, I'm like just going crazy with my regular day job. I don't have the time to commit to this right now. And then there came a point where we both needed a break and like a vacation. And we went to Cabo together, and that was like a really, really good experience. I'm very leery about traveling with people that I don't know that well. But it went really, really, really well. And we were able to like just talk about some of the different topics that we wanted to address if we did do a podcast, and like what we felt like was missing from our own professional journeys in terms of mentorship and just the kind of, you know, candid conversations you want to be able to have with people who have seen a little bit more than you've seen and maybe done a little bit more than you've done, and like are in places that you hope to be someday. And so, yeah, the podcast is called The Level Set. I think we want to put it out on a weekly basis. Our intention is definitely to have guests who are Black women that are, you know, doing things in the professional sphere. And so we want to talk about everything from like negotiating a salary, you know, how to negotiate like stock options and things like that. And like, where do you get the money? If you're working in tech, where do you get the money to like buy into the company that you're working for, so that if and when they are acquired or IPO, you get some of that windfall too. There's not enough information about there specifically, especially because like, you know, as Black people, like if you are the one person in your family who makes out and like does something, you are damn near burdened to like help the people that are underneath you, you know, and it does become a burden, even if you're doing it out of the kindness of your own heart and genuineness because you want to like pull your people up with you. It becomes taxing. So it's also, we also want to talk about that, like how do you set boundaries with the people in your family or that you want to support who may not like be where you are right now, but like you want to set them up for success, right? So we want to talk about that. We want to talk to founders, Black women who are founders, and like just the trials and tribulations of raising around for your company, what it's like to maybe be the boss of a team that may be all white or all male as a Black woman, right? So just things that are very, very specific to Black women, but we also want to make it a place where if you feel like you're an ally to a Black woman, you can come and listen to this and take pieces of what's being said.
You can come and listen. You can't be on there, but you can come listen.
You can come listen. And because listening is an effective, if we all need to be better listeners. Agreed. I think today's results have showed us that we all need to be better listeners. And we also need to know that like all spaces are not created for all people. And that's not a slight. Sometimes it's just like you just need to shut up and listen. And if you can take this like call to action to where you encounter Black women on a daily basis and be a better ally, be a better colleague to them, we're letting you know how you can do that.
That's hard. Well, I want to transition into with that. I know you have a lot of great things on the horizon, whether that's being, you know, an early employee at I Got You, whether that's being an investor, whether that's whether that's us partnering up and doing something, whatever, right? Like I know we gonna get money together. If I don't know nothing else, we gonna get money together and we gonna change something, whether that's the world, whether that's a plot of our land, but we gonna change something because I know how you move, or I'm learning more how you move, how to communicate with you, how to get the best out of you, hopefully, right? And how you can get the best out of me so that we keep each other balanced, if you will. Shout out to the Libra gang. And see, I'll be moving. I'll be moving with the wordplay. I'll be sliding little shit in there, man. But all jokes aside, let us know, 11:59 p.m., December 31st. What have you accomplished?
So you're saying what I hope to accomplish before the year is over?
You can say things that have already happened if you'd like, or what else can you do in the next 40 days or however many.
Oh, the next 40 days.
End of the, I would just, my math is off, but end of the year.
Yeah, no, it might be 40. I don't know. No, it's a little bit more than that. But whatever. Let's say we're in Q4. What can you do in crunch time?
Yeah,
right?
we're Q4.
Yeah. What can I do in crunch time? Well, I definitely want to get some podcast episodes out. Certainly.
Okay.
I'd love to be like picked up by a bigger streaming service, right? Like, I think we need to try to capture a lot of the momentum that's happening around like helping Black people gain more access to things. So I would love to have like a podcast that's monetizable. First and foremost, if I could, take that, like make money from that and take it into angel investing, that would be great. Like I'd love to be the first person to give you a check as friends and family, right? So that's what I'm working toward. Is like I probably have a list of like 5 startups and founders that I would love to invest in right now, but I just don't have the personal capital to do so. And so for me, that's what Q4 is going to be about: is finding ways to just piece up $5,000, $10,000 a year so that I can invest in people like you, and people that I believe in, and ideas that I know are going to serve people in the best ways possible.
I'm sorry, I always forget to do this. This show is about to wrap up, and I'm just putting it up here. I don't even know. That's like lit.
I'm a live movie, so
I always do this. It's so bad. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What did I forget? What did I not ask you about? What did I not allow you to humble brag about? I know you're a dope mom. I know that you are just a dope person that will keep it 1,000. You know what I mean? You know what I did? Damn, I'm gonna have to ask you this on the side, but I wanted to talk about people's ability to receive and give feedback and what your experience has been like with founders. Because feedback is hard to receive, feedback is hard to give, right? It's definitely a communication kind of waltz, if you will. That's a deeper question, so don't worry about it. But I did miss it.
No, I'm glad that you asked that, because one of the things, like I was going to answer the other question you had, like what's something that you left out or whatever. But one of the things is I want people to know about me or whatever, or that like in that same vein is that I want to be known as like definitely one of the most approachable investors that there is, right? Like, there's a lot of investors, like if you go to their firm's website, they're not going to have emails up there. They require you to get an intro by somebody they know and somebody they know well. All of the pretense, like I just want to dead that. What are you working on? Why do you think this is the time is right? And then like also being agreeable to receiving feedback. So I can't say that I've had any terrible experiences in terms of giving feedback at all. Actually, I think founders are very receptive and open to hearing like, what's going to like push their business forward. And I'm always cognizant of the fact that I can be someone who is propelling your business versus like throwing flame retardant on it, right? Like that's not my job. You're the architect. So like I just want to give you the keys, give you the tools to build. I don't want to like say like your structure is shaky or you know what I mean? That's not for me to say your structure is shaky, so the whole shit's gonna come falling down. That's not for me to say.
That's that qualitative data that you can't tap into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just want to be known as like someone who's approachable, someone who's going to give you the real, especially when it comes to your business and how you're leading a company, leading a team. And in terms of like even me receiving feedback, I honestly wish there were more instances for me to receive feedback about. I mean, oftentimes with founders, I get pretty good feedback about like what I've said and shared. But in terms of like people who are, you know, I look up to, or I would love like a much more direct feedback. But I think, again, this is part of the reason why we're starting the podcast. Why we started the podcast is because we need space for that, right? And so like that's going to be an opportunity for me to like examine things in my own life, because I'm just like a whole host of other Black women who are like just trying to find their way.
Well, no, I think that what you're doing, excuse me, what you want to do is very important. And again, I've actually been saying this a little bit more often. I don't know if I've said it as much as I have the last 4 to 5 episodes, but you know, Cowherd's Corner was created to not only just link with the homies, but really for me to let y'all know, like, you know, I'm proud of you, you know, and to really let you know that as a fellow entrepreneur, as a fellow person who, you know, struggles with corporate America identity, or, you know, sometimes worth or value, just in this kind of, you know, growing up in a world where it's like people wanted XYZ out of you, but the world didn't afford you to rock with XYZ. And really figuring that out and navigating that, right? Like, I'm proud of you. I'm thankful to know you. Thankful to have you in my life, a text away, a phone call away, FaceTime away, whatever. So, you know, anything else that you want to share with us that you want the people to know? Other than that, you know, again, I thank you for your time. Thank you for accepting the invite and pulling up.
No brainer. I watched the one with Nate on Monday, and I was just like, oh, I can't wait to do this. This is really cool. And then, like, obviously, you've been telling me about him for quite some time. So,
that's
like,
the
story was great for me. And no, I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you thinking that I'm even of, like, the same or comparable, like, quality and status to some of the other folks that you've had on. Obviously, you've had some super impressive people on here. So, yeah, no, just thank you. And, I'm very thankful for like the bond and friendship that we've been able to develop over the last couple of years, because like I want to say it started over an email or like text, and like 3,000 miles away from where I was. So and it just goes to show that you can develop like meaningful relationships with people like well before you even meet them in real life. And yeah, I'm grateful and thankful that we've been able to do that for sure.
For sure. And so 2 things. We finally did link up this year.
Yes,
I went out to LA. She pulled up on me. So thank you for being a homie of homies. And she is about to be an MBA. So she will be on the East Coast sooner than later, right?
I hope so. I'm going to apply to USC though, too, because fuck it, okay. I'm right here. So, but yeah, I would prefer probably to go back east somewhere.
We'll keep this school
and I'm probably going to apply to Emory.
So we got the East Coast, the South, and the West. She trying to be all over, y'all. That's where the founders be. That's where the founders be. So pull up.
Exactly. I want to be where people are, where innovation is happening. Atlanta is definitely one of those places for Black people. And yeah, I mean, I just like DC and Atlanta. Like, I'm from LA and I'm from the Black part of LA, but it's still like an enclave, right? It's still like a super small part of the city. Whereas like you go to DC, you go to Atlanta, it's Black people everywhere. And it's like one of the coolest things ever. And maybe like people who went to school there like you, or people who grew up in those places, like take it for granted, but you absolutely should not. It's just like super cool to be around and see. And so, yeah, if I can have that experience over the next few years, that sounds like great to me.
All right, G. Well, thank you for pulling up, and I will talk to you sooner than later.
All right, cool. Have a good night.
Peace. Talk to you. Thanks. All right, y'all. It's been real. That's another episode of Cowherd's Corner. We are back next Monday with Seppo Moshaliba, and then we are wrapping up with Jay Will. Man, it's been a hell of a season. I'm very happy for everyone that has pulled up. We are going to come back in January, but until January, I will see y'all next week, same time, same place. Peace.